Here's a wake-up call that could reshape everything we thought we knew about America's economic trajectory under Trump's leadership. Consumer confidence just took a nosedive in August, and the timing couldn't be more telling. After months of economic optimism, American consumers are suddenly hitting the brakes on their faith in the nation's financial future. But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about real people making real decisions that could determine the political fate of a presidency. Let's break down what actually happened. Because consumer confidence might sound like economic jargon, but it's actually one of the most powerful predictors of where our economy is headed. The numbers that have economists worried. The Conference Board, which tracks how Americans feel about their financial prospects, just released data showing consumer confidence dropped 1.3 points to 97.4 in August. Now, if you're wondering why this matters, think of consumer confidence as the economic equivalent of a mood ring for the entire country. When people feel good about their financial future, they spend money, take risks, and fuel economic growth. When they don't, well, that's when things get interesting. But here's the part most people miss. This decline came right after a jobs report that left economists scratching their heads. The Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed that the U.S. only added 73,000 jobs in July, falling significantly short of the 100,000 plus that most economic experts had predicted. For context, imagine if your favorite sports team was expected to win by 20 points, but only squeaked by with a 3-point victory. That's the kind of disappointment we're talking about here. The tariff controversy that's dividing America. And this is where things get really controversial. Trump's new tariffs, those 10% or higher taxes on goods from more than 60 countries, officially kicked in during August after months of delays and political maneuvering. The president himself seemed pretty excited about it, posting on Truth Social, "It's midnight. Billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing into the United States of America." But here's the question that's splitting economists and everyday Americans alike. Are these tariffs helping or hurting? Dr. Clement Bohr, a senior economist with the UCLA Anderson Forecast, offers a fascinating perspective that challenges conventional wisdom. He explains that consumer confidence initially plummeted when tariffs were first announced. People panicked about potential price increases. Then something interesting happened. Confidence started recovering when consumers realized they weren't seeing immediate price spikes in their daily shopping. Now, when people are also really not just hearing about these things that they did early on, but actually now they're really seeing it in their own day-to-day lives, the survey index is starting to dive a bit again, Bohr told reporters. Translation? The honeymoon period is over. Americans are starting to feel the real-world impact of these trade policies in their wallets. The generational divide that nobody's talking about. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The confidence decline wasn't uniform across all Americans. It revealed a striking generational divide that could have massive political implications. Consumers under 35 saw their confidence drop significantly. These are the millennials and Gen Z voters who are already struggling with student debt, housing costs, and career uncertainty. For them, any economic instability feels like another blow to their already precarious financial future. Meanwhile, consumers aged 35 to 55, the established middle class with mortgages and retirement accounts, remained stable in their outlook. And here's the kicker. Consumers over 55 actually became more confident. These are typically retirees and pre-retirees who might benefit from certain economic policies differently than younger generations. What does this mean for Trump's political future? Well, if younger voters are losing confidence while older voters are gaining it, we might be looking at a dramatically different electoral landscape than anyone anticipated. The recession warning nobody wants to hear. But here's where it gets controversial and, frankly, a little scary. The number of consumers expecting a recession within the next 12 months just hit its highest level since April. That's not just a statistical blip. It's a warning sign that economists take very seriously. Dr. Bohr explains it this way. Whenever that's been below 80, That's been a good signal of a coming recession over the next year. So based on historical patterns, that would suggest that one is coming, and therefore a lot of people are fearing a recession. The Expectations Index, which measures consumers' short-term outlook for income and job market conditions, dropped 1.2 points. To put this in perspective, think of it as America's economic crystal ball looking increasingly cloudy. The survey versus reality debate. Here's where economists themselves are having heated debates. Dr. Bohr admits there's been more of a disconnect between these survey sentiment measures and what the state of the actual economy is. He and many other economists are giving these surveys less weight than they used to. But here's the controversial question. If consumer confidence doesn't perfectly reflect economic reality, should we be making policy decisions based on it? Or is consumer perception becoming its own form of economic reality? Stephanie Gouchard from the Conference Board notes that consumers' written responses showed increased references to tariffs and continued concerns about higher prices, particularly for food and groceries. This suggests that regardless of what economic data shows, real people are feeling real pressure in their daily lives. The political implications nobody's discussing. Alex Jacquez from Groundwork Collaborative doesn't mince words. No matter how many economic experts President Trump fires, he can't hide the bad economic news from consumers. That's a direct shot at the administration's handling of economic messaging. But here's the question that should keep political strategists up at night. If consumer confidence continues to erode, particularly among younger voters, how does that reshape the 2024 electoral map? Consumer confidence has historically been one of the strongest predictors of incumbent performance in presidential elections. When people feel good about their financial future, they tend to stick with the current leadership. When they don't, well, history suggests they're more likely to vote for change. What happens next? The next consumer confidence survey drops on September 30th, and it could be a make-or-break moment for understanding America's economic trajectory. Will the tariff effects continue to weigh on consumer sentiment? Will the job market concerns deepen? Or will some unexpected economic development shift the narrative entirely? Here's what makes this story so fascinating and so controversial. We're watching real-time economic sentiment shifts that could determine not just market performance, but political outcomes. The intersection of trade policy, consumer psychology, and electoral politics is creating a perfect storm of uncertainty. The bottom line question. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think consumer confidence surveys accurately reflect the real state of the economy, or are they just measuring media-driven perceptions? And more importantly, should economic policy be influenced by how people feel about the economy, or should it be based purely on hard data? Are you seeing the effects of tariffs in your daily shopping? Has your confidence in the economic future changed over the past few months? I'd love to hear your perspective, because ultimately, you're not just reading about consumer confidence. You are consumer confidence. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you feeling optimistic about America's economic direction? Are you among those expecting a recession? Your voice matters in this debate, and I have a feeling the responses are going to be as divided as the data itself.